Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 63.
Imagine this scenario for a second. It is your birthday,
Okay.
and you are the young heir to this massive, wealthy, incredibly formal dynasty.
That sounds pretty good so far.
Right. But by day, your life is just a series of exhausting rituals. You're bowing to grandmothers, reciting poetry, studying Confucian classics, and basically constantly worrying about whether you're standing up straight.
Yeah, the pressure is immense.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But tonight, the parents are asleep.
Mm-hmm.
The strict aunties are away. You sneak back to your private quarters, you lock the doors, and you discover there is a secret party waiting for you.
It sounds like the classic teenage rebellion setup.
It really does. But here is the twist. You didn't organize it. You didn't even pay for it. Your staff did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
The maids literally scraped together their own hard-earned wages to throw you a banquet simply because they like you.
That's wild.
So today we're opening the doors to Yi Hong Yuan, that's Bayou's residence, and we're stepping into Chapter 63 of Dream of the Red Chamber.
And this is often called the secret banquet chapter. Right.
And while on the surface it looks like a really fun, heartwarming birthday party, if you look at the economics and the sociology, which is exactly what we're going to do today, it's actually something much more radical.
Radical is definitely the right word. We're going to look at this sort of state within a state that Bayou and his maids have built.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about the money, specifically the surprising accounting ledger we get in this chapter. And we also need to talk about the fun police.
Oh, yes.
Represented by a truly terrifying woman named Mrs. Lin.
She is a piece of work. And ultimately, we have to ask a question that haunts the whole novel. Is this innocent fun? Or is this the specific kind of internal decay that destroys a dynasty from the inside out?
I love that framing. So let's set the scene for everyone.
Yeah.
Baoyu comes back to his room. He's expecting a quiet night. He goes to wash his hands, maybe get ready for bed, and Jian, who is his chief maid, stops him.
Right.
She basically tells him, don't worry about dinner, we have handled it. Now, usually in this book, when money is spent, it comes from the central treasury, right? Exactly. It comes from the grandmother or madame.
Right.
The flow of capital in a feudal household is strictly top-down. The master provides, the servants receive. That is the engine of loyalty in this time period.
But Jiren flips the script here.
She totally does.
Yeah.
She pulls out this mental spreadsheet and breaks down exactly where the funding for this party came from.
This part fascinated me because it wasn't just a casual, oh, we all chipped in. It was highly structured.
It's very precise.
You have the senior maids, so Yuren, Qingwen, Shiyu, and Qiwen. They each put in 5 kin of silver.
And just for context for you listening, a kin is a unit of weight. It's about 1/10 of a tael. So 5 kin is half a tael.
Okay, got it. And then you have the junior maid, Fangguan, Bian, Xiaoyan, and Ser. They each contributed 3 kin.
Right. So when you do the math, the total pot is 3.2 taels of silver.
Which, I mean, it sounds like a totally random number to modern ears. But in the context of the novel, that is not insignificant pocket change for them, is it?
Oh, not at all. It's a massive amount for a maid. That represents a significant chunk of their monthly stipend.
Wow.
We're talking about disposable income that they really don't have a lot of. But what's really interesting here is the hierarchy.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Even in their act of rebellion, even in this communal love offering to Bayou, they still maintained the pay structure. The seniors paid more, the juniors paid less.
That is so true. They can't escape the hierarchy, even when they're actively trying to escape the rules. It's baked into their DNA.
Exactly. But think about the logistics of this. They took this cash, they smuggled it to a Mrs. Liu in the kitchen to prep 40 distinct dishes.
40.
Right. Which tells us there's a whole black market economy of favors going on. The maids have their own network. Mrs. Liu in the kitchen isn't cooking this for the family. She's cooking it for the maids, paid for by the maids.
And they already had a jar of really high-end Shaxing wine hidden away on site.
Ready to go.
But here's the character moment I loved. Bayo isn't jumping for joy initially. He already gets really uncomfortable.
Yeah, he does.
He looks at this massive spread and says, they don't have money, they shouldn't spend it.
It's a moment of genuine guilt from him. He knows the natural order is for him to reward them.
Right.
For them to spend their hard-earned wages on him. It feels wrong to him. It upsets the entire power dynamic. He feels like he's exploiting them, even though he didn't even ask for it.
But Qingwen, who is always the sharpest tongue in the room, I mean, she never holds back. She shuts that down immediately.
She really does. She frames it as a matter of sing. Heart.
Heart, okay.
She basically tells him, if you focus on the money, you're insulting us. She says, playfully of course, even if we stole the money, you have to accept the gesture.
Wow.
By accepting the gift, he validates their agency. It's a fascinating power shift.
Yeah.
For tonight, they are the benefactors. He is the recipient.
It's creating a little utopian bubble where the usual rules of debt and obligation just don't apply.
Exactly.
But before the party can really kick off, that bubble almost pops.
Oh.
There's this brief, really melancholy moment where Bayou asks about a maid named Five, or War.
Yes. This is the shadow over the party. We can't ignore this. Wars is a maid who has been trying to get a position in Bayou's room, which is the most coveted spot in the whole house.
Right.
But she's been blocked by household politics and these false accusations of theft.
Right, the rose jar incident that we talked about previous.
Exactly. And Xiaoyan reports that Wu is sick again, specifically from the anger and grievance of that night.
And Bayou instantly blames himself. He realizes his favor is actually what put a target on her back.
It's a stark reminder that their fun has casualties. Bayou isn't just a happy-go-lucky prince. He carries this weight.
Yeah.
And significantly, Bayou realizes he never told Jiren, his chief of staff and closest confidant, about his secret dealings regarding Wu.
Oh, right.
So even inside this circle of trust, there are secrets. It adds a whole layer of complexity. It's not just a happy family, it's a political ecosystem where information is carefully compartmentalized.
But just as he's brooding on that, the real threat arrives. The mood shifts from melancholy to sheer panic.
Total pair.
They're about to close the doors when they see lanterns outside. The night watch is here.
Enter Mrs. Lin.
The buzzkill herself.
She is the wife of Lin Zixiao, a major steward. If the maids represent freedom and individuality, Mrs. Lin is the system. She is the policeman of etiquette.
She walks in with a squad of women, and the vibe shift is instantaneous. It's like when the teacher walks back into the classroom while everyone is standing on the desks.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Bayou has to act fast. He's been planning to stay up all night drinking, but he tells Mrs. Lin, "Oh, I haven't slept yet because I ate some noodles and was afraid of food stagnation."
Food stagnation, it's such a specific excuse.
It sounds like something you make up when you don't want to go to school. "Mom, I have food stagnation. I can't go to math class."
Well, it is a valid traditional Chinese medicine concern. Sleeping immediately after a heavy meal is considered bad for digestion.
Fair.
But here, it's clearly a lie to buy time. He's playing the role of the fragile, obedient child who is just trying to take care of his health.
But Mrs. Lin doesn't let him off the hook. She launches into a lecture that completely exposes the values of the Jia household.
Right.
She starts with sleep.
Right.
She says, if you wake up late tomorrow, people will laugh. But it's the comparison she uses that really caught my eye. She says he'll look like a porter.
A carrying pole fellow. A laborer.
That is such a specific insult for a nobleman. Why go there?
It's class policing. She's saying that waking up late isn't a luxury, it's a sign of low status.
Oh, interesting.
A gentleman rises early to study and govern. A laborer sleeps in because they are physically exhausted and undisciplined. She's telling him that his time management is a marker of his class. If he sleeps in, he is degrading himself to the level of the people who carry his luggage.
Ouch. That is brutal.
It is.
But then she moves on to something even more petty. The names.
Oh, the names.
She hears Bayou calling the senior maids by their actual names. Shirin, Qingwen. And she just loses it. She says he should be calling them sister or Gigi.
This is crucial to understanding the mission today. To Bayou, using their names is a sign of intimacy. It acknowledges them as individuals, as friends.
Yeah.
To Mrs. Lin, it's a violation of property rights.
Property rights. That sounds really intense for just saying a name.
But that's exactly how she sees it. She explicitly argues that these maids belong to the old lady, the grandmother, and Madame.
Wow.
By calling them by their names instead of a respectful title, he is disrespecting the owners of the property. She actually says even the cats and dogs in the elders' rooms must be respected.
That is a lot. She's literally equating the human staff to the household pets in terms of the respect owed to the master.
It's dehumanizing, but to her, it's about order. If you disrespect the cat, you disrespect the grandmother. If you call the maid Qingwen instead of sister, you're undermining the entire hierarchy.
So it's a slippery slope for her.
Exactly. She warns that this sets a bad precedent for his younger siblings. It's the broken windows theory of feudal etiquette. If you let the small rules slide, the whole house falls down.
So Bayou is cornered because he does call them by their names constantly. That's his whole vibe. You treat them like people. How do they get out of this?
Jiren and Kingwon jump in to save him.
Of course they do.
And they lie through their teeth. They tell Mrs. Lin, oh no, he always calls us sister. He just slipped up right now because we were playing.
And Mrs. Lin just buys it.
She eats it up. She praises Baiyu for being educated and knowing rituals. It's a moment of supreme irony.
Right.
She is praising his adherence to the rules at the exact moment he and his staff are conspiring to break every single one of them.
It really shows how superficial the rules actually are. As long as you say the right thing to the supervisor, you can do whatever you want behind the door.
Precisely. It exposes the hollowness of the etiquette. It's a performance. And once Mrs. Lin is satisfied with the performance, she leaves. She drinks her tea, feels important, and marches off.
And the second she is gone, the mask drops. The maids start mocking her immediately. They say, old lady drank a cup somewhere and came here to chatter. They just dismiss her completely.
The relief in the room is palpable. They lock the door. And this is where the transformation really happens. They've dealt with the software of the rebellion, the money. Now they change the hardware.
The furniture.
Yes.
This is a big deal in a culture of rigid seating arrangements. They refuse to sit at the formal table. Sheeran suggests moving the Wally wood round Kang table onto the Kang itself.
For those who don't know, the Kang is that heated brick platform used for sleeping and sitting in northern China. It's the coziest spot in the room.
It's the zone.
Exactly. By moving the round table onto the Kang, they are creating a space that is intimate and enclosed. You sit cross-legged or lounge on a Kang. You don't sit stiffly in high-backed chairs.
Right.
It's a rejection of the formal dining posture. It forces physical closeness. Everyone is on the exact same level.
And the food setup mirrors that perfectly. 40 dishes,
Yeah.
but they are on these small dingware plates. The text says they are only the size of tea saucers.
It's like tapas. It's not a heavy, formal banquet meal where you have to eat in a specific order.
All right, the text describes it as mountain and sea, dry and fresh. Just this amazing mix of exotic delicacies and local snacks.
It's designed for grazing, for drinking, for pleasure, not ceremony.
Then comes the wardrobe change. This is my favorite part. Baiyu says, it's hot, let's take off our formal clothes. And what they reveal underneath is incredibly colorful.
Very vibrant.
Baiyu is in a red cotton sash jacket and loose green trousers. But Feng Guan, the young actress maid, she's wearing something called a rice field patchwork jacket.
This is a stunning visual. A rice field jacket is made of small geometric pieces of different color fabrics. Green, red, dark blues, stitched together to look like the grid of rice patties.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
It's incredibly stylish, almost avant-garde for the time, and she's wearing pink floral pants with it.
And the text explicitly says she looks like a boy, right?
It does, and everyone jokes that she and Baiyu look like twin brothers. This is a recurring theme in the Red Chamber, the blurring of gender lines.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
In this private, secret space, the rigid distinction between male heir and female servant, or even male and female, it just dissolves. There are just two beautiful young people looking like twins, mirroring each other. The hierarchy Mrs. Lin tried to enforce just melts away entirely.
It paints such a vivid picture. The colors, the informality, so they have a setting, the clothes, the food. Now they need the entertainment.
Yeah.
They sit in a circle on the Kang.
Yeah.
And the way they drink, it's not a formal toast. They pass one single cup around.
Yun takes a sip, then passes it. It's a communal cup, a literal sharing of saliva. It's incredibly intimate, binding them together in a circle of trust. It basically says we are all one body in this room.
That's powerful. So
Yeah.
Baiyu has to pick the game. He rejects dice because it's too much like gambling, too common. He rejects finger guessing as it's too rough. So he chooses occupying flower names.
This is a sophisticated literary game. You draw lots that have a flower name and a line of poetry associated with it. It shows that even though they are rejecting formal etiquette, they aren't engaging in low behavior. They are elevating their private party into a salon. It's high culture in a secret room.
But then Zirin points out a practical problem. She says, this game is boring with just us. They need more players.
And this leads to the biggest escalation of the night. They decide to expand the conspiracy.
Yes. They decide to invite the cousins, Baochai, the precious virtue, and Daiyu, the forest jade. And they throw in Tenchen, the third sister, for good measure.
We have to pause on how incredibly risky this is.
Oh, no.
Bringing the noble female cousins into the boys' quarters at night after the gates are locked, that is a massive violation of segregation rules. If Mrs. Lin caught them doing this, The food stagnation excuse would not work.
Not a chance.
They would be in serious trouble. We are talking reputation-ruining trouble.
They do discuss one exclusion, though. They talk about inviting Chin, another cousin, but decide against it. Why leave her out of the fun?
Because she lives with the grand dame, the grandmother. They say it would be too risky and noisy to wake up that household.
Ah, strategy.
Exactly. It's a tactical decision. They know exactly where the surveillance is heaviest. The grandmother's house is the panopticon. It's the central tower that watches everyone. So they stay away from it.
So the plan is set. The maids, Cheyenne and Sire, are sent out into the dark to smuggle the cousins in. Meanwhile, looking at the note, it really feels like the novel's Last Supper moment, doesn't it?
That is the perfect way to frame it, actually. It's Baoyu's birthday, and on the surface, it looks like just a fun, secret party.
Just kids misbehaving.
Exactly. But underneath, this is the author, Cao Fansajin, essentially breaking the fourth wall. He's laying his cards on the table, literally, and telling us exactly how the rest of the story is going to end.
And he does it through a game, which is, well, I went down a serious rabbit hole researching this, the flower signature lots. And it honestly blew my mind.
It is so intricate.
It really is. It is framed as a drinking game, but it's really an oracle engine. It predicts the death, the marriages, and the ultimate fate of every single major character in the room.
And the tragic irony is that the characters don't realize it.
They have no clue.
Right. They are laughing at these prophecies, making jokes about them, while we, the readers, are looking at the fine print and realizing, oh, this is a tragedy in disguise.
So we're going to break into this banquet with them, sit on the heated kang next to Baoyu, and decode exactly what those flower lots are telling us.
Because if you understand this game, you really understand the entire spiritual roadmap of the book.
Exactly. So let's set the scene for everyone listening. It is late at night, which is already a huge violation of the household rule.
Pitch black outside. The heavy gates of the garden are completely shut.
Right. And inside the House of Green Delights, there's a full-blown conspiracy happening. The maids, like Qingwen, Sheiyu, Shiren, they're basically running a covert ops mission.
That's a great point, because usually maids in this era are meant to be invisible, or at least highly subservient.
Very much in the background.
Yes, but tonight they are the ringleaders. They are actively conspiring to drag the noble young ladies out of their beds to come drink with them. It is a total subversion of the class structure.
And I found the whole invitation process hilarious. They send these older women with lanterns out into the dark to go wake people up, and the guests are actually trying to get out of it.
Well, who wouldn't at that hour?
Right. Bao Chai's like, it's late, I'm sleeping, leave me alone, and Daiyu pulls her classic move.
I'm not feeling well.
Yes, I'm not feeling well. She's nothing if not consistent.
But notice who actually makes it happen. It's Tanshin,
Baoyu's half-sister, the really intense one.
the strategist. When they finally agree to come, Tanshin is the one who says, if we are doing this, we do it right. She insists on inviting Li Wan.
The eldest widow.
Right, and Baoqin and everyone else, so it doesn't look improper. Even in a secret illicit conspiracy, she is managing the PR.
She cannot turn it off.
Yeah.
So they drag everyone in, even Jiangling gets pulled into this. They push all the tables together on the kang, that raised, heated platform they sit on. And before we even get to the game itself, I have to point out one detail that I absolutely loved here. It's the way Baoyu acts toward Daiyu.
Oh, the backrest moment?
Yes. The backrest. Everyone is being chaotic, right? They are finding seats, pouring wine, shouting over each other. But Baoyu is laser-focused on Daiyu.
He always is.
He's like, Cousin Lin is afraid of the cold. And he personally arranges her cushions and creates this little spot for her against the partition so she won't feel a draft.
It is such a quiet, devastatingly intimate moment.
It really is.
He isn't performing for the group. He is just instinctively protective of her comfort. It shows that even in this crowded, noisy room, they are still sort of existing in their own private orbit.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
But okay, eventually everyone is settled, the wine is warm, and Qingwen brings out this bamboo cylinder. Now, for those who haven't played a juling, a traditional Chinese wine game, this is not like flipping a coin or playing beer pong.
No, this is high-level literary stuff.
Extremely literary. So what exactly is in this cylinder?
It's filled with carved ivory tags or lots. And each tag has 4 specific things on it. A picture of a flower, a title, a line of classical poetry, and finally, a drinking instruction.
And the instruction isn't just take 2 shots.
Right. It's relational. It tells you who else has to drink based on the poem. It forces connections between the specific characters in the room.
It maps the whole social web of the garden right there on the table. And the first person to shake the cylinder really sets the tone for the whole night. The lot falls to Bao Chai.
The perfect poised Bao Chai,
Yes. And of course, because the universe of this book is not subtle at all, she draws the peony.
the king of flowers. In Chinese symbolism, you literally cannot draw a higher-ranking flower than this.
It's the top tier.
Absolutely. It represents wealth, high status, and supreme undeniable beauty.
The title on her tag is Beauty Crowns the Fragrant Crowd.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, is a massive flex.
A huge flex.
She pulls it out, and basically the game says, yes, you are the queen of this room. But the poem is where it gets a little spicy, I think.
Right. The poem reads, even if ruthless, she is still moving.
Ruthless. That word stopped me in my tracks when I read it. It sounds so harsh. Ruthless yet moving. To me, that sounds like a statue. Beautiful, but just cold stone.
That is certainly one reading of it. But think about the nature of the peony itself. It is overwhelming. It has this objective, undeniable beauty. It doesn't need to be nice or sentimental to take your breath away.
It just is.
Exactly. It just is. And that is Bao Chai. She doesn't get involved in the messy, emotional drama like Dayu does. She stands above it all. She is ruthless in her perfection.
And the group accepts it instantly. They all shout, a perfect match. Nobody argues with the draw. It's like they're all tacitly acknowledging her as the alpha of the group.
And because she is the crown, the drinking rule gives her power. She doesn't have to drink alone. She gets to order someone else to perform to aid the drinking.
And she chooses Fang Wan, the young actress and singer.
Which leads to a really atmospheric moment. Fang Wan tries to sing a standard happy birthday song for Bao Yu, and the group shuts her down.
They're like, no, we don't need that formal stuff tonight. Keep it real.
So she pivots and sings a song called Viewing Flowers.
But the lyrics are incredibly melancholic. I was reading them, and it is all about sweeping up falling flowers, separated lovers, and leaving regret with the peach blossoms.
It is such a stark contrast. They are celebrating a birthday, they are drinking warm wine, Bao Chai has just been crowned queen, and yet the soundtrack is this song about loss and separation.
That is the dream of the Red Chamber aesthetic in a nutshell, isn't it? Joy is always laced with the premonition of loss.
Always. And Bao Yu is the only one who really hears it. He is holding Bao Kai's ruthless poem in one hand, listening to these intensely sad lyrics, and he's just captivated. He is vibrating at a completely different frequency than everyone else in the room.
Well, he is about to get a lot more to worry about. The game moves on. Xiang Yin grabs the lot and tosses the dice back. They roll again, and this time it lands on Tanshin.
Tanshin, the capable sister, and she draws the apricot blossom.
The title is Celestial Quality from Jasper Pond. Sounds very fancy. But the poem says, red apricot by the sun leans on clouds, and the note underneath, oh boy.
The note is very explicit. It says, the one who draws this lot will find a noble husband, and it instructs everyone to drink a congratulatory toast.
And the group immediately jumps on this. They joke that since the family already has a royal consort, Bayu's older sister who is in the palace, Tanshin might be next.
They're basically saying, we already have a queen, are you going to be a princess?
But Tanshin's reaction is very telling. She is embarrassed. She tries to throw the lot on the floor.
She calls it men's nonsense.
Men's nonsense. I love that attitude from her. She wants to be judged on her competence and her management skills, not her marriage prospects. But the prophecy is accurate, isn't it? She does become a royal consort eventually.
She does. But remember, in this novel, marrying a prince is not a Disney fairy tale. It means being sent thousands of miles away to a foreign land, never see your family again.
Oh, wow.
Think about the poem. The apricot leans on the clouds. It is high up, yes, but it is distant. The game is telling her she's going to win the game of status, but she's going to lose her home and her family.
Oof. Winning but losing. That brings us to Li Wan. She draw the old plum blossom.
Cold beauty in frosty dawn.
That phrase, old plum, feels a little mean for a young woman, even if she is a widow.
It is highly symbolic. The plum blossom blooms in the dead of winter on frozen, dead branches. It represents resilience in a frozen world. Her poem is Content in Bamboo Fence and Thatched Cottage.
Which is basically her life in the garden. She is technically royalty in this incredibly wealthy house, but she chooses to live like a nun.
Right. And look at her drinking rule. It says, drink alone. She doesn't invite anyone else to toast. It is a moment of total isolation. While everyone else is connected by these complex rules and shared cups, the widow drinks by herself. She watches the rise and fall of all the others, surviving, but entirely alone.
That is a quiet tragedy happening right in the middle of a party. But we really need to lighten the mood after that, and thankfully, the dice land on Jiang Yun.
The pure agent of chaos.
Yes. She draws the crab apple or the heitang flower.
and the title is Fragrant Dream Deep in Sleep.
The poem reads, "Only fear that deep at night the flower falls asleep." Now you have to explain why the whole room just bursts out laughing at this one.
Oh, this is a brilliant callback by the author. Literally hours before this party in the previous chapter, Jian had gotten drunk at lunch and passed out on a stone bench in the garden.
Just totally asleep outside.
Yes, she was covered in fallen peony petals, muttering poetry in her sleep. It was this iconic Sleeping Beauty moment for her character.
So when she draws, the flower falls asleep. The game is essentially trolling her. It is directly referencing her own drunken nap from that very afternoon.
Precisely. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated comedy. And the rule for this lot is really clever. Because the flower is asleep, the drawer doesn't drink. Instead, her neighbors, the people sitting on either side of her, have to drink.
And guess who is sitting next to her? Dayu and Boyu.
Which triggers another one of those secret, intimate moments between them. Bayu sees that Dayu's distracted, maybe talking to someone else across the table, and he secretly reaches over, takes her cup, pours it into his own, and drinks it for her.
He is like a secret agent of chivalry. He knows her health is fragile, and he doesn't want her to have to drink too much, so he just takes the hit. It is so charming.
It really is.
But, okay, buckle up.
Yeah.
Because this is where the vibe of the room abruptly shifts. We get to Shei, the maid.
This is the turning point of the night. Honestly, maybe the turning point of the entire chapter.
She draws a flower I had never even heard of before reading this. The rose-leaf raspberry, or the tumi.
The tumi. This requires some critical cultural context. In Chinese literary tradition, the tumi is famous for one specific reason. It is the absolute last flower to bloom in spring.
And the note on the card isn't subtle at all. It just says, "When tumi blooms, the flower season is over."
The flower season is over. Think about that. They are in the garden, a place entirely defined by eternal spring, youth, and beauty. And this card just drops onto the table saying, it's done, spring is finished.
And Bayu's the only one who panics.
Yes. The girls are just looking at the pretty picture of the flower on the ivory tag. But Bayu knows the poetry. He reads that line and he physically recoils. He frowns. He obviously tries to hide the stick from the rest of them.
He starts saying, let's just drink, don't read it.
He is frantically trying to censor the prophecy. He knows that end of spring means the end of their youth. It is the end of the garden era entirely.
It is heartbreaking when you think about it.
Yeah.
He is desperately trying to keep the party going because he knows the minute it stops, the decline begins. They drink 3 cups to send off the spring. That is incredibly heavy.
It is. And right after that heavy omen, the dice land on Dayu.
The narrative sequencing here is just brutal. Right after the spring is over, we get Dayu drawing the hibiscus.
Wind and dew clears sorrow.
I mean, if that isn't a brand description for Lin Dayu, I don't know what is.
It is her absolute essence. The poem says, do not blame the east wind, but sigh for oneself. It is an acceptance of her tragic nature. She is always lamenting her fate, feeling buffeted by the wind of her circumstances. But look at the drinking rule here. This is what fascinates me the most.
The rule says, self-drink 1 cup, and the peony accompanies with 1 cup.
It links the hibiscus, which is Dayu, directly to the peony, which is Baochai. The game is saying, you two are the duality. You are the only ones on the exact same level.
And everyone agrees with it. They say, except for her, nobody is fit to be the hibiscus. Even Dayu smiles at that. It feels like a rare moment of peace between the 2 rivals.
It is. It is an acknowledgement by the whole room that they are the 2 poles of the garden, permanently bound together.
And finally, we have one last major draw to talk about. Sharon, the head maid. She draws the peach blossom.
Peach red is another year of spring.
Another year of spring. That sounds hopeful, doesn't it? Especially compared to the end of spring card we just saw with Sheiyu.
It is hopeful, but it also strongly implies separation. In the source material, the phrase another scenery at Willing implies discovering a separate world, a completely different life outside of the one you know.
It foreshadows her leaving the family, right?
Exactly. While Dayu and the others are intrinsically tied to the garden's fate, the peach blossom suggests Sharon will survive. She will find a new spring somewhere else. She ends up marrying the actor, Tiguan, later in the story. She survives the crash of the household.
The drinking rule for this one was easily the most complex of the night. It said anyone with the same age, birthday, or surname had to drink. It turned into this chaotic math problem for the group.
It leads to such a great lively scene. You have Shengling, Qingwen, and Baochai all realizing they're the exact same age.
And then Tanshin complains because she has to drink again thanks to the rule about the apricot accompanying the peach.
And Li Wan, the widow, completely drops the mic with a joke. Tongchen is annoyed about the omen of the noble husband, and Li Wan says, usually people get beaten before they find a husband, not after.
That is some dark widow humor right there.
I love how loose they're all getting.
But then knock knock. Reality comes crashing in.
The outside world. Zhuant has sent servants to check on Dayu. The bubble bursts completely.
They check the time, and the servants say it's past the second watch. So after 11 p.m., in a strict Confucian household, this is basically a full-blown scandal.
Bayu actually tries to deny it. He is in such denial that the night is ending. He checks his own watch and claims it is only 10 minutes past the rat hour. He is bargaining with time again.
But they can't deny it. The girls are saying, this is already a violation. This is unseemly. The transition from let's party to we are in serious trouble is instant. But not before one final ritual. They drink a separation cup together. The lamps are lit, and the maids escort the guests back across the Kinfang Bridge. Okay, let's shift scenes. You know that specific feeling when you wake up right after a night where things went just a little too far?
Oh, yeah, the classic morning after regret.
Right, exactly. The headache is there, pulsing behind your eyes, sure. But it's more about the visual chaos of the room.
Like the empty bottles and weird stains.
Yeah, you look around and see empty bottles rolled into corners, stains on the rug you can't quite identify, and people asleep in places they definitely shouldn't be.
It's the universal language of the morning after, a scene that transcends time periods, really.
It really does. Usually when we picture that scene, we're thinking of a college dorm or maybe a reckless weekend in Vegas. We definitely do not picture the hyper-strict, ritual-obsessed world of the Qing dynasty aristocracy.
No, we picture them sipping tea with perfect posture.
Right.
Not passed out on top of each other.
It creates quite a cognitive dissonance.
Specifically, the aftermath of the secret party in Chapter 63.
We are going to trace a very specific line. We're going to start with this physical hangover, a messy, scandalous bedroom scene, and follow the thread until it leads us to a profound spiritual awakening.
An awakening about death, legacy, and what it actually means to be, quote, inside the threshold.
It is one of the most drastic tonal shifts in the entire book.
Oh, absolutely. You go from slapstick comedy to deep Buddhist philosophy in the span of a few pages.
Which is wild.
Yeah, but you can't understand the philosophy without understanding the mess that came before it.
So let's set the scene.
Okay.
The night before Bayu, the young master, locked the doors for a secret birthday party.
The wine flowed, they played drinking games, and they ignored every single rule in the book.
What does the room look like when the sun starts creeping through the windows?
It is a disaster zone. The text gives us this fantastic detail about the old nannies.
Oh, right, the chaperones.
Yeah, now remember, these are the women whose sole job is to enforce the rules and keep everyone in line.
The strict enforcers?
Exactly. But the text says they were eating openly and stealing secretly all night.
So the authority figures were the first ones to check out.
Completely. They were skimming off the top.
Of course they were.
By morning, the wine jars are bone dry. And because the authority figures checked out, the physical boundaries of the room just collapsed.
You have people sleeping everywhere, bodies draped over furniture.
And this leads to a moment that, for the time period, is incredibly intimate and chaotic.
This is the sleeping arrangement involving Fangguan, right?
That's the one.
She's the young actress turned maid who has become a bit of a favorite recently.
Right, she's young, she's naive, and clearly she has zero alcohol tolerance.
She passes out cold.
She does, but she doesn't just curl up on the floor, she collapses directly on top of Shirin.
Which is a massive problem because Shirin isn't just one of the girls, she's the head maid.
The manager, basically.
Yeah, she's the one who usually reports directly to the mantle.
Exactly, she is the disciplinarian.
Oh.
In normal hours, falling asleep on top of your boss is a firing offense. But Shirin wakes up, feels this weight on her, and realizes Fangguan is dead to the world.
And her reaction isn't anger, is it?
No, it's pure practicality. She thinks if I leave her here, she's going to vomit on me.
The universal fear of the designated caretaker, haha.
Right, so she moves her. But where she moves her to is what really caught my attention.
She puts Fangguan next to Baoyu.
It represents a total suspension of protocol. A junior maid sharing the master's bed. Unheard of.
But Shirin is just trying to manage the chaos.
Yeah, she moves to a separate couch to save herself from the potential mess, and she tucks Fangguan in alongside Baoyu on his red fragrance pillow.
It paints such a vivid picture of the bubble they're living in.
It really does.
Inside the garden, behind locked doors, the feudal hierarchy just dissolves. It becomes just a bunch of teenagers trying to sleep off a party.
And the wake-up call highlights that equality perfectly.
Baoyu wakes up, sees Fangguan next to him, And he doesn't scream or call for security.
No, he starts shaking her awake. And when she realizes where she is, her reaction is just so human.
She's mortified.
She is. She's rubbing her eyes, asking, how did I get here?
And Bayou's joke here is great. He says, if I had known you were sleeping there, I would have painted your face with ink.
It's playful. It's affectionate.
It's not master and servant behavior at all.
Not even a little bit. It validates what the maids say later. They mention that they threw away their shame.
That's the actual phrase used, right?
That's the phrase. For one night, they stopped performing their societal roles. They weren't servants and masters. They were just accomplices.
But bubbles have to burst eventually.
They do.
And this one bursts pretty quickly with a knock at the door.
Enter Pinger. She's the chief maid for the main household, the real world outside the garden.
Right. She comes in to invite them to a return banquet.
And I love the reaction of Bayou's maids here.
Usually when the real world intrudes, everyone straightens their clothes and acts proper.
But they don't scramble to apologize. They actually tease her.
They do. They tell her you missed the good stuff.
They explicitly say that their secret party was better than any official family gathering because they could just be themselves.
It's a stark reminder to you as the listener that the public face of this family is all ritual and stiffness.
While the private face is this raw, messy joy.
It's almost like they're bragging about their rebellion. Like, we had more fun than you because we broke the rules.
Precisely. And Pinger, to her credit, laughs it off.
She's a good sport.
She is. She represents the bridge between the strict outer world and this inner sanctum. But the party is officially over.
Right. Everyone washes their face, fixes their hair, and tries to look presentable again.
And this is where the whole dynamic pivots. We're moving from the physical mess to a mental puzzle.
Bayou is at his desk, trying to get his act together, and he finds something shoved under his inkstone.
A pink piece of paper. It turns out in the drunken confusion of the night before, a delivery came in.
And someone just jammed it under the desk and forgot about it.
Classic, I'll deal with this tomorrow behavior.
Exactly. So Bayou pulls it out. It's a birthday card.
But it's not from a family member.
Oh, it's from Miaoyu.
The nun.
We need to remind the listener about Miaoyu for a second, because she's a tricky character.
Very tricky.
She lives in the garden in the Green Lattice Nunnery, but she's not really part of the group, is she?
She effectively segregates herself. She is incredibly arrogant, obsessed with cleanliness, and looks down on almost everyone as vulgar.
She considers herself above the dusty, dirty world of the household.
So receiving a birthday card from her is already weird. She doesn't usually do socializing.
But the signature is what stops Bayou in his tracks.
She signs it. Outside the threshold person, Miaoyu respectfully bows.
Outside the threshold person. It sounds cool, vaguely mystical, but Bayou is panicking. Why is this such a dilemma for him?
Because Chinese social etiquette, especially in the Qing dynasty, is built entirely on symmetry.
Okay, symmetry, how so?
If I write to you calling myself your humble student, you have to reply as your honored teacher.
You have to match the status and the tone perfectly.
Exactly. Beoyu has never seen outside the threshold used as a title before.
Yeah.
He literally doesn't know the code.
He's stuck. He thinks about asking his cousin Baochai, the family genius.
But he decides against it immediately.
Why? She knows everything.
He knows Baochai will just lecture him. She represents the iron threshold mentality we'll talk about in a minute.
All right. She's all about rules and propriety.
She'd say, this is improper. Why are you interacting with this eccentric nun?
So he needs someone who understands the weirdness. He heads out to find Dayu.
But he runs into someone else entirely.
Yuyan.
And this is a character we really need to spotlight.
Xuyan is a relative, but she's the poor relation.
She doesn't have the fancy clothes or the status of the others. She's usually in the background, just trying not to be a burden.
But this moment changes everything we know about her.
It does. Bayu shows her the note, basically asking for help.
And he's shocked that she even knows Miaoyu. He basically says Miaoyu is a snob. She hates everyone. How does she tolerate you?
It's a bit insulting to Xuyan, honestly.
It is. He's implying you're too normal for her.
But Xuyan reveals this hidden history. It turns out before moving into the Grandview Garden, Xuyan's family was destitute.
They rented a room in a temple.
And who was their neighbor?
Miaoyu.
They lived separated by a single wall for 10 years.
Wow, a decade.
And Yao Yu, this woman we think of as a cold elitist, actually took the time to teach the poor neighbor girl how to read and write.
Xun calls it a friendship in poverty.
It completely humanizes Miao Yu.
It really does. But it also elevates Xuyun in Bayu's eyes.
He suddenly realizes that Xuyin's grace, he compares her to a wild crane, isn't just natural.
It was cultivated. She was educated by this spiritual master.
It's the Rosetta Stone moment. Bayu needs to decode the message, and he just bumped into the one person who speaks the language.
So he shows her the signature, outside the threshold person.
And Xuyun laughs. She knows exactly what this is about.
It comes down to a poem, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It's a reference to a line by the Song Dynasty poet Fan Chengde.
And Miao Yu usually hates poetry, thinking it's cliché, but she loves this one couplet.
Right, the lines are, even if there is an iron threshold for 1,000 years, eventually there is a dirt mound.
Okay, we need to break this down because this is the core concept.
Iron threshold versus dirt mound.
What are we looking at here physically?
Picture a traditional Chinese doorway. The threshold is that wooden beam at the bottom you step over to get inside.
Right, the piece connecting the doorframe.
In a busy house, thousands of feet step over it, wearing it down over time. It splinters, it breaks.
So if you want your house to last forever, if you want your family to be powerful for eternity, you'd want that threshold to be made of something indestructible.
You'd make it out of iron.
Exactly. The iron threshold is the ultimate symbol of the human desire for permanence.
We want our careers, our families, our reputations to be unbreakable.
We want to secure our legacy against time. We want to build something that death can't touch.
But the poem cuts that down immediately.
Eventually there is a dirt mound.
The grave. The poem is a brutal reality check. It says you can build your threshold out of iron, you can amass all the wealth and power in the world, but in the end, you are just a pile of dirt like everyone else.
The entropy of the universe always wins.
It does.
That is a heavy birthday greeting. Happy birthday, Bao Yu. Remember, you're going to be a dirt mound someday.
It is. But for Miao Yu, it's a statement of position.
How so?
By signing as luring outside the threshold, she is saying, I have stepped out of this game. I am not fighting for status.
I am not trying to build an iron legacy.
Exactly. I am observing from the spiritual outside. I see the futility that you people inside don't see.
She's claiming to be above the rat race.
Right.
So Bao Yu gets it now. But he still has to reply. He can't just leave it hanging.
And Xian gives him the answer. She mentions that Miao Yu has other aliases, like the deviant.
But since she used the threshold metaphor, Bao Yu have to play within that metaphor.
If she is outside, where is Bao Yu?
He's inside.
He is the young master of the house. He is in the thick of the red dust, the love affairs, the family drama, the expectations.
Jian tells him to own that. Don't pretend to be a monk. Sign it as inside the threshold person.
And when he hears that the text says he felt like he was poured over with pure cream,
It's an epiphany.
why does this simple phrase hit him so hard?
Because it unlocks a mystery he's lived with his whole life.
Bao Yu suddenly freezes and realizes, wait, our family clan temple.
The place where we keep the ancestors' tablets, the place where we send the dead.
It is literally named the Iron Threshold Temple.
That is such a wild detail. I think a lot of readers miss this. The family actually named their temple Iron Threshold.
Yes. And Bao Yu never understood why until right now.
The Jia family, in their arrogance, named their temple after the symbol of permanence.
They are obsessively trying to make their glory last forever. They took the metaphor literally.
But they missed the point of the poem. The poem says the iron threshold doesn't work. It says it's futile.
Precisely, it's dramatic irony on a massive scale.
The family is praying for eternity in a temple named after a metaphor for futility.
They are unknowingly mocking themselves. And Bao Yu, for the first time, sees the joke.
That's the awakening. He realizes his entire world, the luxury, the garden, the title, it's all just an iron threshold waiting to become a dirt mound.
And this is the crucial part. Instead of panicking, he accepts it.
He writes the reply. Inside the threshold, person Bao Yu washes hands and respectfully bows.
He runs to the nunnery and slides it through the door himself.
He doesn't send a servant.
No, this is personal. It's a moment of connection between two opposites.
One claiming to be out, one admitting he is in.
I think there's something really powerful about that admission. I am inside the threshold.
He isn't running away to become a monk, at least not yet. He's saying, I am here in the mess, but now I know it's a mess.
It's the difference between being trapped in a maze and knowing you're in a maze.
The walls are still there, but your perspective has shifted completely.
He realizes that the drama, the fighting for status, the mourning after regrets, it's all part of the inside.
Meanwhile,
I want you to picture a scene. You are at an incredibly lavish, private party. It's late at night, the alcohol is, well, it's flowing freely, and the supervision is basically non-existent.
Oh, sounds like my kind of party.
Right. But this isn't just people sitting around drinking. It is a full-blown costume party. And I don't mean like cheap Halloween store costumes.
Right.
We are talking about gender bending, total identity swaps, and people just renaming themselves after historical villains just for the thrill of it.
Wow.
It's playful, it's highly theatrical, and the whole vibe is that absolutely nothing in the outside world can touch them.
It honestly sounds like the kind of night that ends up on the front page of a tabloid the next morning.
Oh, it definitely would today. But in this story, right when the laughter hits its absolute peak, I mean, literally while they are joking about these fake names, reality just kicks down the door.
Yeah, total mood killer.
Exactly. A messenger arrives, completely breathless. The patriarch of the family is dead. And he didn't just die peacefully in his sleep either.
No, he really didn't.
The description of the body is gruesome, bizarre, and involves a cocktail of heavy metals that would make a modern toxicologist shudder.
It is a massive tonal shift. I mean, one minute it's a comedy of manners, and the next it's a crime scene investigation.
It really is. But we aren't just recapping the plot for you. We are looking at the private lives of these characters, the games they play to escape reality, and what happens when the grim truth of the adult world just forces its way in.
And looking at the sources we have, there's a really fascinating thematic thread tying this raucous party and this gruesome death together.
Oh,
Yeah, it's all about transformation.
transformation. Okay, lay that out for us.
Well, if you look at the two halves of the story, first, you have the teenagers in the garden. They're
Yeah.
engaged in this playful transformation.
Costume party.
Exactly. They're changing their genders, their ethnicities, their names. It's highly creative. It involves makeup and clothes. It's a game.
And the second half?
The second half features the family elder, Old Master Jing, and he is attempting a literal biological transformation.
Right. He's a Taoist alchemist.
Yes, trying to turn his mortal body into an immortal one.
So one transformation is a costume party and the other is a fatal experiment.
Precisely. And, well, spoiler alert, only one of those groups survives the night.
Let's start with the survivors. We are in the garden with the main protagonist, Bayu, and his entourage. It's late, they've been drinking, and Bayu decides that one of the young actresses, Fangguan, needs a total makeover.
But he doesn't want her to look pretty.
No, not at all. He wants to masculinize her. But the text is very specific here. I was reading the description of the outfit in the source, and it's wild. He doesn't just want her to look like a generic man.
No, he styles her specifically as a nomad, a warrior from the northern steppes.
Right, he actually orders her head to be shaved.
Well, not completely bald. They shave the surrounding hair to leave what the text calls a patch of green scalp and a great top knot in the center.
Okay, that is quite a look.
And then she puts on tiger head boots and a doublet, which is a very specific accessory made of marten fur.
So visually, she is being coded as a barbarian.
In the context of the Qing Dynasty setting, yes, absolutely. She is being styled as the other, the fierce outsider.
And Bao Yu looks at this creation, his servant girl, dressed as this rough-and-tumble warrior, and decides her given name, Fangguan, which means fragrant official, is way too soft for this look.
Right. So he renames her Yelu Xiongnu.
Which is quite the mouthful.
It really is.
Let's unpack that, because names in this book are never just random sounds. What are we actually saying when we call someone Yilu Shengnu?
It's essentially a cultural mashup of China's greatest historical anxieties. You kind of have to break it down. Yilu is the surname of the Khitan people.
The ones who founded the Liao dynasty.
Exactly. They were major rivals to the Chinese court in the north.
Okay, so that's one historical rival right there in the first half of the name.
And then Xiongnu refers to the Huns, the ancient nomadic confederation that just terrified the Han dynasty for centuries.
Oh, right. These were the horse archers that basically necessitated the building of the Great Wall.
Yes. So he's combining these two massive historical threats into one name.
So to put this in a modern context, this would be like a rich kid in 1950s America dressing his nanny up as a Soviet general mixed with a Viking raider and calling her Stalin Genghis.
That is actually a shockingly accurate analogy, yes. He is taking the symbols of historic terror names that used to literally scare emperors, and he's turning them into a costume for his own amusement.
Why, though? What is the psychology there? Is he just trying to be edgy?
It's deeper than that. It's what we might call the imperial mindset.
Yeah.
Bao Yu actually gives a whole speech justifying the name.
Oh, I have that quote here. He says, "The 4 C's are submissive."
Right. He essentially says, we are so lucky to be born in this current age. He references the fictional Great Shun dynasty that they live in, claiming that the emperor's virtue is so immense that all those scary foreign tribes have just submitted.
He claims they don't even need weapons anymore, right? The enemies just bow their heads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So his logic is, we won. Peace reigns supreme. Therefore, I can take the symbol of our ancient enemy, this terrifying warrior archetype, and I can just reduce it to a plaything.
Wow.
He says we should trample them to add color to the emperor's glory.
That is incredibly arrogant when you stop and think about it. He is using her body as a prop to celebrate his own sense of geopolitical security.
It's a total power trip. He feels safe, so he can play with danger. But here's the absolute best part. Fangguan doesn't just take it.
Oh, I love this moment. She completely claps back.
She laughs right in his face.
Calls his bluff.
She says, if you're such a patriot, if you want to trample the enemy so badly, why don't you go out and practice archery? Go learn martial arts.
Yeah, go capture some actual rebels instead of just wagging your tongue and playing make-believe with a servant girl.
She roasted him. She's pointing out the sheer hypocrisy of it all. He talks a big game about the empire and subjugating enemies, but he's doing it from the absolute safety of a pampered garden.
Holding a makeup brush, not a sword.
Precisely. She exposes that he's soft. And Bayou's defense is just classic, lazy aristocrat energy.
He doubles down on the peace narrative.
He really does. He says, if I went out and learned to fight, it would be a total waste of time because there's nobody left to fight. The world is at peace.
He genuinely believes that the world is static, that the safety he enjoys in that garden reflects the actual reality of the world outside.
And that belief that safety is permanent is really the core delusion of the entire novel. We know as readers that the family is in steep decline. We know political storms are brewing out there.
But Bayou is stuck in this kind of end-of-history illusion where nothing bad can ever happen to him again.
Exactly. But the delusion is contagious because once Fangguan gets her new look, everyone else wants in on the joke.
It spreads like a viral trend. Shik Shangyun, who is sort of the resident tomboy of the group, sees this and immediately grabs another actress, Qui Guan.
And she dresses her up as a boy, too.
But she goes for a slightly different vibe. She calls her Wei Dying.
Right, which is a very clever pun.
Yeah.
The actress's surname is Wei. So Shangyun is playing on the phrase Wei Da Ying Shang.
Which means great hero.
Yes. So now we have the Hun warrior and the great hero running around the garden together.
And Shan Yun makes this really interesting comment about gender during this, doesn't she?
She does. She says only a great hero can show true colors. She's implying that the heavy makeup and the powder the actresses usually wear is actually a disguise.
And stripping it down to this masculine look is somehow more authentic.
Right. It's fascinating that they view the masculine guise as revealing something rather than just being another costume.
They're basically saying gender is a performance. You take off the girl costume, put on the hero costume, and suddenly you are a completely different person.
It's pure theater. But as with all improv theater, sometimes the audience doesn't really get the joke.
And that brings us to the wild donkey incident.
Yes.
This scene feels like it was written for a modern sitcom, so the older generation just sort of crashes the party.
Yeah, Yu Shi, who is Bayou's sister-in-law, and some of the concubines just wander into the garden. They are not part of this historical role-play game at all. They're just there to hang out.
So Bayou, being Bayou, wants to show off his new creation. He shouts out, Yilu Jiangnu!
And the women, they have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. They mishear him completely.
They hear Yiluzi,
right?
which translates to...
Wild donkey.
I mean, imagine the scene. You are posing as the scourge of the steppes, the terrifying Hun, and your auntie looks at you and hears wild donkey.
It immediately punctures the pretension. The text says everyone laughs until they collapse. They are literally worried about popping a yolk from laughing so hard.
It deflates Baoyu's grand imperial narrative instantly. It's a reality check. You can call yourself a warrior, but to the outside observer, you just look ridiculous.
And it forces Baoyu to pivot. He realizes Yilu Xiongnu is a liability, because it sounds way too much like a barnyard animal.
So he decides to rename Fangguan again. And this time, he swings to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. He just drops the warrior act entirely.
Yes, he renames her Wendu Lina. He claims it's a foreign phrase from Haishi Fulangxia, which is essentially a garbled reference to France or the West, meaning gold star glass or a precious gem.
Is that even historically accurate?
Oh, it's likely total nonsense he picked up, or maybe a bastardization of a Western word he heard from a missionary or a merchant. But the key is the shift itself. He goes from a name meaning fierce enemy to a name meaning fragile, precious object.
And eventually they just shorten it to glass or boli. So Fangguan goes from flower to Hun warrior to wild donkey to glass, all in the span of, what, 3 hours?
He just shows how fluid identity is in this garden.
Hmm.
People are toys to be named and renamed for amusement. It's all very light, airy, and fun.
Until it isn't.
Until it isn't.
Because right in the middle of this game, literally while they are still joking about the wild donkey panic strikes.
News comes from the East Mansion. The old master, Jing, has died.
And this is where the tone of the source material shifts violently. We go from gold star glass to a corpse with a belly hard as iron.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jing. We haven't seen much of him in the book because he has been living in a monastery outside the city, right?
Correct. He abandoned his family duties years ago to focus entirely on Taoist cultivation.
Mm-hmm.
He's interested in running the estate. He wants to become an immortal.
And when the news breaks, we immediately get two conflicting stories. There's the PR version and there's the real version. What is the PR version?
The servants and the Taoist priests run in saying, the master has practiced his exercises every day and his merit is finally complete. He has ascended to become an immortal.
Ascended? So in their telling, he didn't die, he just leveled up.
Exactly. They use the phrase, shed his skin and left the sea of suffering. They frame it as this massive spiritual success, but it's a cover-up.
Because then the doctors show up, and they don't see an immortal who shed his skin, they see a poisoning victim.
The doctors are brutally practical. They examine the body and see that his skin and lips are burned purple and cracked. His belly is hard as iron.
That is horrific. What caused that specific reaction?
The diagnosis in the text is swallowing golden sand. This refers to alchemical elixirs, specifically those containing cinnabar and mercury.
Cinnabar. That is mercury sulfide, right? The bright red stuff.
Yes. In Chinese alchemy, called huaidan, cinnabar was highly prized because it's red like blood, but when you heat it, it separates and produces liquid mercury.
Which looks like liquid silver and doesn't tarnish.
Exactly. To the ancient mind, that looked like the key to eternity. Changeable, yet permanent.
So he was eating heavy metals thinking they were vitamins for his soul.
And not just casually. The text mentions he took a secret formula during the Gengshen vigil.
Now, I saw that term Gengshen in the notes. That sounds like a very specific ritual. What does that entail?
This is a real deep cut of Taoist lore involving the three corpses, or sanqi. The belief was that the human body hosts three parasitic spirits. On Gengshen days, which occur every 60 days in the calendar while you sleep, these spirits ascend to heaven to report your sins to the celestial bureaucracy.
And if they report your sins, your lifespan gets shortened.
Exactly. So the strategy is simple, don't sleep.
So the logic is, if I stay awake all night, the snitch spirits can't leave my body.
Right, so Jing combined extreme sleep deprivation with a massive dose of mercury to suppress these spirits.
That is a recipe for disaster.
It's a recipe for organ failure. The fire of the medicine burned him from the inside out. The hard belly was likely massive internal swelling and gas buildup.
There is such a dark irony here. While the kids were staying up late playing dress-up, the old man was staying up late poisoning himself.
That is exactly the parallel the author is drawing. Both groups are engaged in play. The kids are playing at being warriors. The old man is playing at being a god.
But the old man's game has consequences.
Lethal ones. And this leads to the aftermath, which is just as revealing as the death itself. The head of the household is dead. But where are the men? Where is Jiazhen, the son? Where is Jia Lian?
They aren't there. The source notes the senior male heirs are absent, probably off on official business or...
So this massive crisis falls directly into the lap of Yushi, Jiazhen's wife.
And I have to say, she handles it like a boss. The contrast between her and everyone else is striking.
She is incredibly capable. She steps into the power vacuum instantly. She knows something smells fishy, literally and figuratively. The first thing she does is lock up the Taoist priests.
She puts them in jail.
She locks them in the temple to await interrogation. She knows this ascension story is a total cover-up for malpractice, and she needs to secure the witnesses before the magistrate arrives.
And she has to deal with the body, and there's a specific taboo mentioned here regarding the location, right?
Yes. Because he died outside the city at the monastery, she cannot bring the body back into the family home within the city walls. It is considered very bad luck to bring a corpse in through the gates. Plus, practically speaking, it is the middle of summer.
And a body full of mercury with a belly hard as iron.
Is decomposing rapidly. The swelling mentioned in the text suggests gas buildup. It's a biological nightmare.
So she arranges for the body to be moved to the Iron Threshold Temple. She handles the logistics, the coffin, the timing.
Contrast this with Bayou. Bayou is sitting in the garden saying, "The world is at peace. I don't need to do anything." Meanwhile, Yushi is dealing with rotting corpses, locking up suspects, and managing a massive funeral because the peace has just been completely shattered.
The scene shifts abruptly. Picture a split screen in your mind, like a movie setup.
Oh, I love a good visual.
Right. So on the left side of the screen, you have the Emperor of China. He is the absolute moral authority of the Lamb, the Son of Heaven. And he is literally sitting there writing a decree to honor a specific family for their incredible virtue, their loyalty, and their deep, profound filial piety.
Yeah, he's moved to tears by it.
Exactly. The whole court is singing praises. It is the ultimate public relations victory for this family.
It creates this really beautiful image of a harmonious society, doesn't it? Like the benevolent ruler rewarding the perfectly virtuous subject.
It's perfect. But then you cut to the right side of the split screen. You zoom in on the grandson of this newly deceased honored man.
Right.
He is back at the family mansion wearing his sacred mourning clothes, which, as we know, is a huge deal in this culture.
A very strict uniform.
Yeah, and what is he doing? He's in the back room, engaged in some of the most shameless, borderline, incestuous flirting imaginable, while literally citing historical corruption to justify why it's totally fine for him to be a degenerate.
It is such a jarring contrast.
Yeah.
I'd actually argue it's one of the most brutal cuts in all of literature, which is such a pivotal section.
It really is. We are looking at the events immediately following the death of Jing. We need to look at how the Jia family manages the logistics of death, which is surprisingly complex.
Very complex.
And how that specific administrative chaos basically pulls back the curtain on the moral rot eating the family from the inside out.
That's a really great way to frame it. Because on the surface, I mean, this is about funeral arrangements, right? It's about coffins and ranks and rites.
Sure.
But if you look a little closer, it's actually about what happens when authority creates a vacuum. It's about what happens when the cats are away and the mice just decide to burn the entire house down.
So let's set the scene for you. Jing has died. He was the head of the Ning branch of the family, but he was off living as this Taoist recluse eating heavy metals, trying to become immortal.
As one did.
Right. And now he's gone, panic mode sets in. But here's the problem. Who is actually running the show? Because usually in a massive estate like this, there is a very strict, very clear chain of command.
This is a critical point to understand the whole chapter. The normal chain of command is just completely broken down.
Utterly.
In the wrong mansion, Wang Shifeng, who is the usual power player, the woman who runs everything with an absolute iron fist, she's sick. She physically can't come out of her room.
And Li Wan is busy looking after the sisters.
Exactly.
And then there's Bao Yu, right? Well, the text basically says Bao Yu, quote, doesn't understand practical matters.
Yeah.
Which is just a really polite way of saying he's entirely useless in a crisis.
Right. He's great at writing poetry, but he is terrible at logistics. So you have this massive estate with hundreds of people living there, and the leadership suddenly falls to what we might call the B team.
The bench warmers.
Yeah, the text actually lists them all out. You've got Jia Guan, Jia Ying, Jia Chang, and Jia Ling.
It sounds like a roll call of people we barely ever see. It's like when the substitute teacher shows up and none of the kids know who they are.
That is exactly it. These are second-tier stewards. Yeah. They're usually lingering in the background. But suddenly, they are the ones holding the keys to the castle. And amidst this massive reshuffling, there is a very specific domestic arrangement made that seems minor at first, but acts as the catalyst for literally everything you're about to discuss.
You're talking about Yushi, right? Jia Zhen's wife.
Correct. So Yushi is the mistress of the Ning mansion. But because Jia Jing died at a monastery outside the city walls, she has to stay out there to manage the body. She can't go home to watch over the main house.
So the house is empty.
Right. And she needs someone to house at the mansion.
So she calls in some reinforcements. She brings in her stepmother, Old Lady Yu. And along with her, the stepmother brings her two unmarried daughters, second sister Yu and third sister Yu.
And just to clarify the family tree here, because keeping track of Red Chamber genealogy is basically a contact sport.
It really is.
These are Yushi's stepsisters.
Yeah.
So they aren't blood related to the Jia men, but they are technically aunts by marriage to the younger generation like Jia Rong.
Okay.
And that generational gap in this culture is supposed to command massive respect.
Wow.
You just do not mess with their ants.
Right. So the setup for you to picture is this. The masters are all away dealing with the body. The huge house is empty except for these two young unmarried women and their elderly mother. It sounds like the setup for a bad sitcom.
Or in this case, a tragedy. It's basically a lawless zone.
Yeah, a total lawless zone.
It creates a space with zero oversight. And before we see how that space is abused, we really have to understand the pressure the family is under from the outside world. Because this isn't just a private, quiet family funeral.
Oh, no, not at all. This is a state event. And this is where the irony really kicks into high gear. The emperor hears about Jing's death. Now remember, Jing was a recluse. He wasn't actively serving the court. He was basically a white-robed commoner at this point.
But the emperor is described in the text as being extremely benevolent and filial. He values the performance of family duty above almost anything else in his empire.
Right.
So when the Ministry of Rights submits the official report, the emperor doesn't ask, "What has this guy done for me lately?" He asks about his ancestry. He looks at the family's historical resume.
And because Jing's ancestors were huge deals, like dukes and founders of the actual dynasty, the emperor decides to go all out. The list of honors is actually kind of staggering for a guy who died trying to make immortality pills in the woods.
It really is staggering. First, he posthumously grants Jing a fifth-rank title. Yet this legitimizes him all over again. It puts him back on the government payroll, so to speak. But the bigger deal is the logistical permission he grants. The emperor decrees that the coffin is allowed to enter the city through the North Gate.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about that. Is the North Gate really that significant?
Oh, it's extremely significant. In dynastic China, city gates weren't just doors. They were massive status symbols. The North Gate was often strictly reserved for high officials or royalty.
Oh, I see.
So for a quote-unquote white-robed commoner to be allowed to go through the North Gate, that is a massive public flex. It's the equivalent of shutting down Fifth Avenue for a private family motorcade.
Wow. Okay, that paints a picture.
Yeah, and he also orders the Guanglu Temple, which handles imperial banquets and royal sacrifices, to arrange the sacrificial offerings for this funeral. And perhaps most importantly for the family's social standing, he gives permission for officials from princes on down to attend the funeral.
So, practically speaking, the emperor just turned a private family tragedy into the social event of the season.
Exactly. The text mentions that the calls of praise, the song calls from the court, were just unceasing. The Jia family is being held up as this ultimate pillar of virtue. The message from the top is, you are the bedrock of the state, so act like it.
Which brings us to Jia Zhen and his son Jia Rong. They are currently out of town attending the national funeral for the old imperial consort. But they hear this news and have to rush back. And the description of their travel is just intense.
It's totally frantic. They don't stop to sleep. They are changing horses on the fly, racing back to the capital. It really shows the sheer terror and urgency of complying with imperial expectations. They know the eyes of the emperor are directly on them.
And there's this moment on the road, they actually run into two of those B-team managers we mentioned earlier, Jia Bin and Jia Guang.
Right. These two were sent out on the road because the family was worried that the old matriarch, the grandmother, wouldn't have a proper escort on her way. It's a small detail, but it shows that the family is really trying to do the right thing on the surface.
They are checking all the boxes of filial piety.
Checking every single one.
But then they finally arrive at the Iron Threshold Temple. It's 4 a.m., pitch black, dead of night. And this scene, if you want to understand performative grief, this is the absolute masterclass.
It is pure performance art.
Describe it for us because it's pretty graphic.
So the watchmen shout that they've arrived. Jia Zhen and Jia Rong get off their horses, and they don't just walk in the door. They start wailing from outside the gate. They literally crawl on their hands and knees from the gate all the way to the coffin.
The text actually says they banged their heads until they were bleeding.
Yeah, the phrase is kisang kisi, bowing to the ground until the forehead bleeds and weeping blood. They cried until their throats were completely hoarse.
See, when I read that initially, I think, wow, they must be devastated. I mean, bleeding from the head, that takes some serious commitment.
That is exactly the intended effect on the audience. But we have to look at this with a critical eye. This is a highly public performance. The magnitude of their grief has to match the magnitude of the emperor's grace. If the emperor honors you with the North Gate, you cannot just shed a polite little tear. You have to bleed. It's a transaction. You gave me honor, I give you a public spectacle.
That makes it even darker. Because the moment the camera stops rolling, so to speak, the vibe changes completely. It's like an actor walking off stage and immediately lighting a cigarette.
And that transition happens almost instantly. Jia realizes he needs someone to go back to the city, to the Ning mansion, to manage the logistics there. He needs the house prepped for when the coffin arrives.
So he sends his son Jia,
Right. Jia, who was just weeping blood and crawling on the floor a minute ago, he just wipes his forehead, jumps on a horse, and rides back to the city.
We go from the Iron Threshold Temple, which is cold, solemn, and hyper-performative, to the intimate, totally unsupervised space of the home.
Jia arrives. He barks out some orders to the servants, move the tables, hang the morning drapes, set up the drum towers. He's doing his job. He's setting the physical stage for the funeral.
But then he goes into the inner rooms, the upper rooms where his step-grandmother and those two aunts, the Yu sisters, are staying.
And this is where the mask doesn't just slip. He actively takes it off and throws it in the trash.
Yeah, the text says the old lady was sleeping, but the two sisters, second sister Yu and third sister, Yu were awake doing needlework with the maids. Jia walks in, and his first move isn't to bow or to speak respectfully to his elders. He looks at second sister Yu and says, "Grinning second aunt, you're here again. My father is really missing you."
Stop and think about that sentence for a second. My father is missing you. He is speaking to his father's wife's sister, and he's insinuating that his father, who is currently supposedly weeping over a coffin at a temple, is actually pining for her sexually.
It's wildly inappropriate. I mean, it essentially implies incest. It disrespects his father. It disrespects the aunt.
And remember, he's saying this about the man who is ostensibly the chief mourner right now. It creates this dirty little conspiracy between them.
And second sister Yu, to her credit, or maybe just as part of their weird dynamic, she reacts. She grabs an iron, like a literal flat iron used for pressing clothes.
Yes, she brandishes it at him.
And she threatens to hit him with it.
Yeah.
She says, "If I don't curse you out every few days, you forget your place. You're supposed to be a young master from a noble house studying rights, but you act worse than a beggar from the gutter."
She calls him out perfectly. She highlights that massive gap between his social status reading books and learning rights and his actual gutter behavior. She's identifying the rot right there.
But Jia doesn't back down at all. He doesn't apologize. He actually plays along. He puts his head in her lap.
It's just a game to him. He rolls into her lap to, quote-unquote, beg for mercy. Then the third sister joins into Tara's mouth. It's a chaotic, highly physical, flirtatious pile-on.
And we have to keep reminding ourselves, he is wearing morning clothes. This is what they call hot morning. The body isn't even cold yet.
That's the key context here. In traditional Chinese culture, the period of mourning requires very strict abstinence. No entertainment, no pleasure, and certainly no sexual play. Jia is violating the most sacred taboos of his culture while actively wearing the uniform of that culture.
And it gets even grosser. We have to talk about the cardamom seed. The text is very specific about this detail.
Ah, yes, the infamous cardamom.
So Jia and second sister, you're fighting over a cardamom seed she is chewing. She spits the chewed-up paste directly into his face to get him to back off.
Which is a moment of deep disrespect, theoretically.
But Jia he just licks it off his face and eats it.
It creates this intense sense of grotesque intimacy. It blurs the lines between fighting and foreplay in a way that is deliberately meant to make the reader uncomfortable. It shows that Jia has absolutely no boundaries. He will consume anything, even his own shame.
And it's not just us, the modern readers, who are uncomfortable with this. The maids who are in the room are horrified.
This is a really crucial narrative device by the author. Sometimes we as modern readers might think, oh, maybe standards were just different back then. But the author gives us the maid's reaction to ground the morality of the scene.
The maids speak up and say, "You have hot morning on your body. The old lady just fell asleep. You guys may be young, but she is your aunt. You have no respect for the mistress of the house."
They explicitly warn him. They say, if people find out, you'll be in deep trouble. People will gossip. They're desperately trying to pull him back into the world of rules and consequences.
And this is the moment. Because Jia response to this warning isn't to say, "You're right, I'm sorry." His response is essentially a manifesto of corruption.
It's like a defense attorney's closing argument for complete nihilism.
He starts by quoting a saying. He says, "Dirty Tang, stinking Han."
Zhang Tang Chou Han. We really need to unpack this historical reference. The Han and Tang dynasties were the absolute peaks of Chinese civilization. We are talking high culture, beautiful poetry, military power, the golden ages. But they were also famous for incredible palace intrigue and sexual corruption. The Tang dynasty specifically had famous incidents of emperors taking their own sons' wives, things like that.
So he's saying, look, even the greatest dynasties in history were completely filthy.
Exactly. He's appealing to historical precedent. He says from ancient times until now, even the Han and Tang were dirty, so why should our family be any different?
And this is the part that genuinely made my jaw drop. He starts listing the receipts. He doesn't just speak in generalities. He starts naming names in his own family.
He goes right down the list. He starts with the elder master. He says outwardly severe, but has plenty of dark secrets.
Then he brings up Jia Lian. He says Uncle Lian has been caught up with that little ant.
And he even mentions Jia Rui. He says even someone as strong and fierce as Wang Zhifeng didn't Uncle Rui want to settle accounts with her, which is referring to Jia Rui's lust for Shifeng that eventually got him killed.
He is openly airing all the family's dirty laundry to the servants. He says, who doesn't have a romantic affair? Don't make me say it all out loud.
Think about the psychology here. The maids try to shame him using the standard of virtue. Jia Rong counters by using the standard of reality. He is essentially saying virtue is a lie. Everyone in this house from the top down is completely corrupt. So why are you hassling me for eating a little cardamom seed? Who in this family is clean enough to judge me?
It's so cynical.
It's not just cynical, it's diagnostic. Jia Rong is a symptom of the disease. He knows the family is morally bankrupt. He has seen his father, his uncles, everyone in power abusing that power. So to him, the rules of mourning and filial piety are just costumes. They're just things you wear to get through the North Gate. But inside the house, anything goes.
And what's really scary is that he's right. I mean, he is a scumbag, but he's a truthful scumbag. The family actually is that messy.
And that is the true tragedy of the Red Chamber. The absolute truth is spoken by the most corrupt character in the room.
So he makes this huge speech basically telling the maids to back off because everyone is trash anyway. And then the old lady...
You wakes up, the timing is just perfect. The moral vacuum is briefly filled by the presence of an elder.
And watch how fast Jia Rong switches up. The very second she wakes up, he isn't the dirty Tang stinking Han guy anymore. He isn't the guy licking cardamom paste off his face. He becomes the dutiful mourning grandson instantly.
He immediately asks about her health. He says, it's so hard on you, old ancestor. It's hard on the aunts. We're so grateful for you being here. And he promises to kowtow to them later.
It's practically sociopathic how fast he flips that switch. And then he cracks a joke to the grandmother. He says, don't worry, my father is looking for husbands for the two aunts. He wants rich, noble young guys. In fact, we saw one on the road just now.
He's teasing them. But notice the deeply uncomfortable implication. He's joking about his father, Jia Zhen, arranging marriages for his sisters-in-law. And given what we know about Jia Zhen's reputation...
It feels like pimping, let's just be honest.
It treads very, very close to that line. It suggests that the women in this house are simply commodities to be managed or traded by the men. Even wrapped in a joke, the power dynamic is incredibly predatory.
And the old lady, she buys it completely.
She does. She asks, really, who is it? She takes it at face value because she desperately wants to believe the system still works.
Yeah.
She wants to believe that the noble Jia family is actually taking care of them. She relies on them for everything, housing status, future security. She has to believe it.
Meanwhile, the sisters and the maids know he's lying through his teeth. They say, don't listen to this lightning strike victim.
Thunder will strike you.
And then someone comes in and says, hey, the work outside is done. Come check it out. And Jia Rong just laughs and walks away.
He exits the scene as if nothing happened at all. He goes right back to the front of the house to play the role of the grieving, dutiful son.